1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go!
With your boots and your shoes, whatever you choose. Pearl snaps tongue tied, you ain't got too much to lose. If this ain't right, then I don't know what is. After all, we only got one life to live.
Hey everybody, Rick Filger. Welcome to episode number 3 of Discovering Dairyland. The music you heard on the way in was Zach Pietrini, another great Wisconsin talent. That was his song Dance. You might have caught him at Summerfest, at Mile of Music, all over the place. It's funny, we were looking at his shows coming up in a couple of weeks. He's going to be in Niceville, Florida, which, if you've never heard of Niceville, I hadn't either. My wife's mother lived there for years, so small world. Really excited today to be here with the talented entrepreneurial queen of Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
Allie Thiel. Allie, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
So tell me a little bit about your Wisconsin history. You're a native Wisconsinner, correct?
I am. I was born and raised in Neenah.
So not too far from here.
Yep.
And we're back in Kaukauna again this week. So born and raised in Neenah and been here your whole life.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you think about, what do you think has caused you to stay in Wisconsin as far as your life and everything like that? What's kept you here in this area?
Yeah, well, I'm really involved in my local church, so that is a pretty big anchor for me, is because of my obligations there. And also I just appreciate being around family, and so my family's here, my husband's family's here, so I really have no reason to go anywhere else unless we're vacationing in Florida, which I also love, but it's too easy to go visit and come back. So I guess I'm just your typical Midwesterner who's got roots.
That's right. So where do you like to vacation in Florida?
We love the Gulf side of Florida for a couple of reasons. You can get a direct flight out of Appleton, so it's a 3-hour flight-ish from door to door, or I should say travel time. So we like anywhere from St. Petersburg area, we like Clearwater, Fort Myers. That's kind of like the area where we land when we go.
Okay, we're panhandle people, but yeah, we like that. So, you know, the idea behind this whole Discovering Dairyland for me was when I came to Wisconsin. We bought a house up here a couple of years ago to be closer to our grandkids, and we were going back and forth between Cincinnati and here. And just recently, in August of last year, we decided to make this our full-time home.
Congratulations!
And one of the things that surprised me is all of the things that Wisconsin has to offer, because I always thought of it as cheese and beer, right? And there's so much more, especially when it comes to business, right? As I go around the area, and even the whole state, and look at so many things that are manufactured here or headquartered here. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. What is it about Wisconsin that you think makes it so business friendly?
Well, I think our local leadership in government has passed legislation to make it an open for business state. So I think it's partially that, and I think that the cost of living is relatively good in Wisconsin, and most of Wisconsin is very safe to raise families, and the school systems here are strong. So I think it's just a good place, and people find that it's a good environment for living, and it's safe, and business is thriving because of those reasons.
And it is thriving, and there's always something to do. It's crazy. There's always something to do. So, you know, with all the great business opportunities in Wisconsin, let's talk about one of your newest ventures, which is where we met.
Yes.
With your new venture with CO4, which is a community office workspace.
Yes.
That is fantastic. Tell me about that and how that came about.
My husband has been in business for over 20 years. He is a professional audio video guy. So we have been with his business traveling from the south side of Kaukauna to the north side of Kaukauna, renting, like leasing warehouse space. And he just got to a place where he wanted to have his own building where we could house other like businesses and have warehousing. And so that was sort of where the concept launched. And then we had these open white space tenant spaces that we were looking at how do we develop them. Right. And so when we had the building appraised, one of the comments from the appraiser was that office space in this front part of the building might be the best use case. And so that's sort of where we started thinking about how do we build it out as offices. And then while I was traveling, I got networking with somebody who told me about co-working spaces, and I'd never heard of. I mean, I'm from rural Wisconsin. Co-working spaces aren't very prolific up in northeastern Wisconsin, but they're very common in large cities, in metropolitan areas. Apparently, I know that the co-working industry now I know has been around for 10 years. So while I was traveling a few years ago, I made intentional stops to visit co-working spaces and learn about the model and how do you distinguish a good co-working space from a not so good one, and how are they managed? And so I did all the things of market research. And what I took away from that experience was that although they are well suited for larger population areas, the decentralization of the workplace post-COVID is even hitting the suburbs and rural Wisconsin. And so many positions are going to some hybrid of remote work, whether it's full-time remote work or partial remote work. And I found that not everybody has a space in their home to work from home, or maybe they do, but just prefer not to. People say they feel isolated, they feel overwhelmed and stressed because of the half-done projects around the house and the laundry and the kids' messes and all the things that you encounter at home. And so to have like a third space that's a professional backdrop where you can come and either meet clients or get your heads down work done was something that is becoming more common as in the marketplace as a demand. Yeah. So that's where it kind of came from.
Yeah, and it was certainly something we were looking for when we came up here. You know, I've been with the same company 17 years in the mortgage business. We've got a lot of growth going on, and I tried to work from home coming up here at first, and I called our corporate leadership and I said, I got to have something because I'm going nuts in the basement.
Yes.
Right?
You are not alone. There are many people I've heard from like that.
And it really meets a great need. And what I like about CO4 compared to other places that we've kind of looked at is, number one, is I'm not walking through somebody's main space to get to just some office somewhere.
Sure.
You're walking into a community space where everybody's nice. Hey, how you doing? It's really, really friendly. It's really, really inviting. Then I've got my private space, and you've got a ton of stuff here besides that. I mean, there's the Zen room. There's little areas to sit off and meet or sit and have. You have the cafe, which will be opening up full time soon.
Yes.
And also that'll be open to the public as well, not just the members, right? There's the podcast room upstairs. There's all kind of great things here, and it's just so well done.
Thank you.
So I really think it's important. And one of the things that I think I learned through this whole process is that, you know, as we saw this growth in our company, there were a lot of people that we had, you know, kind of remote that kind of felt like they were on an island. And we have some internal corporate things that we do with coaching and stuff like that to kind of keep people as part of the community. But I never really realized what that felt like until I was sitting in the basement, because I was in the office with my team and my partners and everything every day.
Yes.
And when that was gone, it can get depressing really quick.
Yes, it can.
So, you know, the affordability of, even if it's just a couple of day passes and stuff like that you offer, you know, all the way up to having the lease, but it's not one of those 3-year triple net leases and you're not committing to something, you know. And if, you know, even as I grow the area up here, if it's not just me anymore, there's still room to do stuff like that. So I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
You know, with some of the audio video issues we had, probably should have called on your husband first instead of winging it. But I didn't know that's what he did, so that's good. So let's talk a little bit about Wisconsin as far as some of its culture and some of the things that you just find are great things that you should be doing. So first of all, let's talk about food and drink. If there was something in Wisconsin that a newcomer came and said, what's one thing I should try, what would be your recommendation?
Food and drink. Well, if we're staying local to the Fox Valley, my list changes. My favorite restaurant, and maybe it's lame because it's a chain, but is the Cheesecake Factory, and we have a couple down in the Milwaukee area. As far as local establishments, there's always, I feel like, new ones popping up. Nakashima's is one of our, in the Fox Valley, has been around for a long time, and they're one of those foundational, you can go for hibachi style dining and have a great experience there. I also like Stone Cellar, I think they're in Appleton. maybe Fox Crossing. And they have more of like American fare, but it's just a really great pizza, great shepherd's pie, so that kind of thing, traditional American. And then if you go north a little bit into Suamico, there's a couple of cute little restaurants. Suamico's not very big, but their downtown area is really cute, so you can find 2 or 3 really nice ones there. Off the top of my head, that's what's coming to me.
Now, of course, you know, the stuff that you see is throughout the whole state. And obviously, we know about beer. There's a lot of craft beer up here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, you know, that. Cheese is obviously a big thing. They just had the big World Cheese thing down in Madison. And I think 117 of the awards came to Wisconsin cheesemakers. I think I saw that somewhere.
I wouldn't doubt it.
You know, so cheese curds are the big thing.
Yes.
And I had never experienced a cheese curd till I came up here.
Now, you know, there's 2 ways to have a cheese curd. You have
Yeah.
them raw,
Right.
which is cold, well, warm. If they're fresh, they're warm and squeaky. And then there's fried. And yes, we are very proud of both of our versions of our cheese curd.
And I love them very much. You know, and it's not good for my figure, but that's okay. I like them both ways, and I was informed very early on, Allie, that if they don't squeak, they're not fresh.
That is the truth.
So.
And I'll caveat that by saying you can become a cheese curd snob just like you can become a wine snob. Because even fried cheese curds, you can tell if they're made fresh in-house or if they come frozen in a bag. So I would consider myself to be one of those cheese curd snobs, because if the crust is too thick and too crunchy, they're trash. I mean, they have to be soft, and anyway. So there's sort of an etiquette to the best kind of fried cheese curd.
So my on-the-spot question is then, who has the best cheese curds in Northeast Wisconsin?
Oh, good question. There used to be, I don't think they're there anymore, but there used to be a public house in Menasha that had the best ones. And they had a jelly, we call it jalap jelly, but it was jalapeno jelly. So it was like a jelly that had jalapeno in it. So it was sweet and spicy. And then the cheese curd was salty. So it was like the best combination. So if you can find a cheese curd in a restaurant that also serves it with jalapeno jelly, that's the best combination I've found.
That sounds like good. Somebody was serving it with something different in Cincinnati. They had cheese curds and it was some weird dip, and I can't remember what it was. Now that I think about it, it might have been honey.
I could see that. That I don't know. That wouldn't be my thing.
It wouldn't be a Wisconsin
No.
thing for sure.
Generally, they're served with either marinara sauce or ranch is pretty typical. But
Right.
or ketchup. Everybody, you know, in Wisconsin we eat ketchup with eggs. So ketchup with cheese curds, it just makes sense.
Ketchup. If you're my daughter, you eat ketchup with everything.
Yes, fair
You know.
enough.
So the other thing that I found really interesting about Wisconsin, and I actually have fallen in love with it, is that the Americana of the little towns that are everywhere.
Yes.
So the first time I came up here and I saw, you know, Lambeau Field and stuff, I'm thinking just gonna be this big downtown, stuff like that, because that's what I'm used to.
Sure.
In Cincinnati or wherever, most of these things are closer to a downtown area. You know, when I saw Lambeau, it was pretty much in the middle of a residential area, not a big downtown area, anything like that. I was like, wow. But it's such a great area. I mean, if nobody's ever been to what they did to Titletown, that's what every stadium experience should be. Because
Yeah.
it's not just about the stadium itself. It's all the things surrounding it. There's always something to do. They have in the winter, you know, when football season's over and stuff like that, they have got the hill to go tubing on. They've got the ice rink. They've got all the restaurants. They got everything. But I love driving. I can drive 5 minutes from Appleton and be in the country. And within 15 or 20 minutes, I'm hitting some small town that's like going into Mayberry. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, you know, it's like going back into the 70s and not like they're behind the times, that's what I mean, but it's the people, the friendliness, you know, they've got all the great technology and everything else. But it's a different culture, it's a different way of life. And it's something that I really enjoy because there's just so many of them. What do you think one of your favorite areas or favorite destinations, if you were going to plan the perfect trip through Wisconsin, that you would see?
I really enjoy southwest Wisconsin because it's kind of the pathway of where the glacier went through when it formed, you know, whatever, when they were forming this, when the glaciers were kind of forming the landscapes. And in southwest Wisconsin, there's just the landscapes there are just gorgeous. I mean, there's a lot of winding roads with, rolling hills and Amish communities, which are really fun. I enjoy driving through Amish communities just because, to your point, you feel like you stepped out of like the busyness of life and you go back 100 years. I mean, they're still doing everything by hand, and it's just a completely different life. And I have a lot of respect for that kind of lifestyle because it's I imagine, a very hard life to live. But when you drive through one of those communities and they have their farm stand open where you can buy fresh apple pies, or they're known for their bakery many times, or they're in the summer in Wisconsin, we try to cram a whole year worth of activities into 6 months. And so the farmers markets and the fresh produce on the, every downtown street corner seems to have a little, stand of the local farmers' goods. Those are some of my favorite, most nostalgic parts about the state.
Yeah, and it's really great to see that through. And one of the things I always talk, people always talk about farmers, and I mean, we're friends with some farmers in Cincinnati. Butch and Sherry have been friends for 20 years, and they just work so hard as farmers, and they do the pumpkins and corn and all this other stuff. He provides all the hay and the feed for the Cincinnati Zoo. But they work their tails off.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that is surprising is I would drive back and forth at night in the summer, even after dark, or in the fall when it gets darker earlier. You see all these lights off in the distance. You're like, what is that? And you're out in the middle of nowhere. And you realize as you come up on it, here it is 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, pitch black, and the farmers are out there still working. They're working their fields because they know that winter's coming, right? Got to get it done. I mean, those guys and gals are working their tails off, and they're feeding America.
Yes.
And I don't think I realized. I mean, I always knew farmers got up early, worked late, worked hard, but I don't think I realized how much they really do from a time perspective. And I'm fascinated by how much I see, and I'm like, I have no idea why they do this or what this is or what that is. It's crazy, to feed these millions of people in this country what they do. So I think that's really amazing. So if we had, I know you love the outdoors a little bit as well. Big question is if you could plan the perfect day, we'll call it midsummer.
Okay.
Because I know it depends. If it's January, it's different.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Very different.
But we'll say a midsummer day. You and the family, what's your go-to thing to do in Wisconsin?
We like to go find a lake and do any kind of water sport or activity that we can find. So we're not too far from the chain of lakes in Waupaca. So you can go there and go on pontoon rides. You can throw kayaks in the water and kayak a lake. One of my favorite things to do in the summer is to get onto a lake and find a tributary and then just kayak up the river and see what there is to see. It's just so peaceful, and to be reconnected with nature, sometimes you have to disconnect from the business of the world to find yourself. So yes, I think like you said, an outdoor person. I love to hike trails. My family and I camp a lot in the summertime, and it's just to disconnect from the digital world, because the global marketplace is turning into having your face in a device all the time. So we try really hard in the summertime. I yank the kids' iPads and they don't get them until the weekends. And so during the week they need to be outside getting dirty and finding something physical to do. So that's what we do, is we're kind of adventure seekers. And so in Wisconsin, what does that look like? It looks like hiking trails, biking trails, kayaking, fishing, pontooning, tubing. That's
all kind of great summer stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's funny because we got the experience to go up north, because that's where everybody goes. Where are you going for the summer? Going up north, right? A couple of years ago. I believe that the rest of the family would have probably camped, but they ended up renting a house up in one of the lake. I can't remember what lake we were even on. Eagle River? Up near the Eagle River area, Catfish Lake or something like that.
Sure.
So they rented a house because I think they were making sure that we were comfortable. There was a new baby there too, but we'll blame it on the baby. But what a great experience! I mean, it's just, the beach is great, and I love the beach. But northern Wisconsin in the summer I'd do that. We'll do that again.
Yeah, we do. We solve a lot of problems around sitting around a campfire. So I think it resonates with a lot of Wisconsin residents.
I think so.
What are a few of your favorite lakes, Allie? Just curious.
Well, we have a cabin up on Lake Dubay, which is in central Wisconsin. So That one's actually a river. It's a Wisconsin river that they flooded in one area and then dammed up to make it a lake.
Okay.
So that's really conducive to water sports because there's a river running through the middle of it, so it stays really clean. Other lakes can get stagnant, especially July and August when the mold or when the algae starts to grow. If
Right.
it's not a lake that gets a lot of movement, but that would be one we go to often. Green Lake is another one I think it's the deepest lake in the nation, if I'm right, or it's very close to one of the deepest ones in the nation. So that one stays clean also because of that, and it's cold, usually a little bit colder. And then the Chain of Lakes in Winnipesaukee is really fun because you can rent a pontoon and then like go through 4 or 5 lakes and just keep exploring from lake to lake to lake. So that's really fun. You can also, there's Wolf River rafting in the Wapaka area, rafting and tubing. So this is a favorite Wisconsin pastime, is to get a group of people together and everyone gets their own tube, and then there's always a tube or two in the middle of a cooler. So you link all your tubes together and you get put in upstream and you basically just float down the river for 4 hours and, hang out with your friends and have a few cold ones, and it's
We
really
do
fun.
that with canoes in Ohio.
Okay.
And we call
That's too much work.
We call it cabrewing. So, last but not least, one of the things that I again was amazed at is all of the, not just the agriculture and things like that. Like, I never knew that cranberries were Wisconsin's the number one cranberry grower in the world. Right? They've surpassed everybody else. Like, I didn't even know until we went towards La Crosse last year and passed cranberry fields. I'm like, what are I didn't even know they existed,
Sure.
right?
Did you say cranberry field?
Or bog or whatever, right? See, we got the peanut gallery over here off camera, right? So, it's my wife. What do you expect? She's going to correct me. I'm always wrong. No. So, if we look at where you see Wisconsin and Allie and her family and CO4, 3 to 5 years from now, what would you like to see in your world? What are you looking to find in helping the community, serving the community, the things that you're really into?
I would love for us to not have to pay any more taxes. Legislation that would remove or significantly reduce our tax burden, because I
It's
think
tax time, right? You're going through that right now? Yeah. So-
Yes, I just think that there's better ways to legislate how we pay for things than taxing the people. So that would, free us up to do a lot more traveling and
There we
just
go.
other fun things that we'd like to do. So I know that's maybe random, but that's
It
what
was,
comes to my mind.
a random question. So, yeah, and again, I love, like I said, the CO4 space. It's great. It's, the people here have been very friendly. The environment's great. I know that you plan on doing a lot of community events here. I know that I've seen the Heart of the Valley Chamber has done a couple of things
Yes,
here. They're here
they're
a lot.
very active here, yes.
Yeah, and they're a very active chamber,
Yes,
which
they are.
I need to get involved in to meet more people. So, again, I appreciate the community that you've created and are creating still.
Yes.
And looking forward to watching it grow.
You and me both.
Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, on the way out, we are going to listen to another song of Zach Pietrini called Dead End Town. And there's not a dead end town around here, but we're going to play it. All his links are in the comments below. Please make sure you support him. He's, again, another great Wisconsin talent. And appreciate your time. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Grew up on a dead-end street, dreaming Get the gasoline out. Strike the match.